Hello, everybody, and welcome to what is actually kind of unexpectedly going to be the finale of For the Hoard of the Dragon Queen. We'll get into that later. Before we do, boo! Before we do that, I want to have everyone introduce themselves, tell us who you are, who you're playing, where to find you on the internet, and all of the fun things. So why don't we start with Mick this week?
I am Mick, and I am playing the Drow Rogue Chris who likes to steal things. You can find me at Micktastic on Blue Sky and on Twitter.
Nice. All right. Adela, how about yourself?
Yeah, I am playing Aster, who is a nature cleric, loves her friends, is not a follower of Tiamat, or like kind of, but doesn't really care. And as far as socials, you can find me at Mountain Meeks on Blue Sky and Bella Be Kids on a bunch of other socials. That's it.
Nice. Going around the screen, that brings us to who else do we have? Oh, Mika.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Mika. I do things. You can find me over on Roll D5, ROLED5. And for the last time, I will be playing Lemon Zest, our little kobold boy who just wanted his inheritance, and now he's angry at the world. And he's ready to turn into a punk rock artist.
Perfect. I love it. I should preface that, I mean, who knows if maybe we'll see these characters again sometime on an evening show or something. You never know, or a weekend show. But the reason this is our unexpected finale. So I'm Jeremy, and I'm the cause of that. This is my channel, and unfortunately, in order to be here during the day, I have to have the time to be here during the day, and hopefully that will be the case, or that will not be the case as I move on to gainful employment in the near future. So we will, the timing of things worked out that this kind of had to be our for sure end, as opposed to potentially not ending with any sense of closure. So why don't we jump in? Right.
Congratulations. Lots of congratulations, but also
hopefully, yeah. So why don't we do a little bit of a recap? So you were all cultists in the Hoard of the Dragon, or the Cult of the Dragon, trying to resurrect Tiamat, or rather, not resurrect, but free her from Avernus. You've been working on building a hoard to use as a material component in the ritual that would free her. But during that time, you've kind of experienced other things in life that made you realize that maybe Tiamat doesn't have your best interests at heart, including altering her pact with the warlock, who is Lemon Zest, but definitely imposing her will over your choices. This kind of I like Raven in chat, the crisis of faith. I feel like this crisis has really built itself, being part of the cult, seeing what they've done, and really growing up in the cult and kind of wanting to go out and do your own thing has allowed you to maybe see other viewpoints. And so as you have traveled along, you've met other dragons who maybe have other goals, and we were kind of heading in a direction where you might end up exploring some of those goals. However, we're not going to have the time for all of that. So the last episode, you were in a fortress in the caldera of a volcano known as Sentinel Spire. That fortress was once the home of a League of Assassins. However, since they vacated, a small cloister of dragon worshippers had moved in. Now, these dragon worshippers have some strange thoughts and some strange feels about Tiamat and the creation of dragons, and how maybe Tiamat wasn't the only mother of dragons, and she wasn't the only goddess that created some of these dragons that are out there, including some that you've seen. You saw a pink dragon. What the hell was up with that? You've seen a brown dragon, or rather a brown dragon in orc form. You never did see Tyrannaxis's true form. But there's definitely things out there that have made you question Tiamat's role in the creation of dragons, and maybe her right to rule, as the cult might have put it. And so with all of this on your mind, you left your friend Ashran behind, who was helping to guard the fortress against potential incursion from the forces of Tiamat, and you were returning, kind of trying to figure out your own way to go, whether or not you would be just kind of leaving the cult or trying to subvert it to some other direction. But whatever your plans were, as you stepped in the teleportation circle that was supposed to return you to the Tower of the Talon where your friends waited, there was a incursion of sorts, a magical flux that pulled you from your reality to somewhere else, somewhere where you had noticed as you were teleported, you caught glimpses of weird plants growing out of, or growing wildly, and strange fae running rampant through forests. And then you appeared in the small kitchen of a desert hag that you had offended along the way, whether intentionally or not. Your shenanigans had cost Corellia Childs the ability to win Iron Chef of Neverwinter, and she's pissed about it. And so, having summoned you to her little hovel, she sits in a fairly comfortable looking chair as the three of you look down, and you see arcane etchings around you in the gloom, the only light that of the fireplace flickering nearby. It is stuffy in here. Those of you who are able to sweat begin to do so profusely. Those of you who are reptilian and do not sweat in the same way, your tongue kind of starts like hanging out a little bit as you try to cool yourself. What do you do?
Oh, hi.
What do you want?
And I was going to do this, I was trying to do this like Julia Child's voice for her, and I've been sick. I don't have it in me, so I apologize. You're just going to get Jeremy voice for this. She looks at you and she says, well, I wanted to win the cooking competition like I had planned to.
Didn't you find love? Isn't that romantic?
You know, we're not going to talk about what is going on with myself and Nax at this time. You all owe me.
We're romantics.
Yeah, you summoned us all this way. You can't not tell us.
Tell you what?
Your romance.
Just spill the beans. Tell us everything, because this is exciting.
Look, at this point, I don't feel like I have much else to live for, so please just...
This has nothing to do with my relationship and everything to do with what you owe me for your interference.
Really has everything to do with your relationship, I promise. Because it's all we care about. We were there just to get you guys started.
She actually tilts her head and she's like, who are you? And she looks at Lemon Zest. Who even are you?
The person who sets you up with the love of your life. The kobold.
Those two I know owe me. They, and she kind of waves her hand, and this little illusion appears. It looks like a small version of the room you're in, and you can see little versions of Chris and Aster moving through as like homunculuses or homunculi, and imps and quasits move throughout this kitchen cooking. There's like sneaking around, and you see Aster like flipping through the cookbook. This is all an illusion created of apparently what happened. Somehow through magic she has definitely caught on to at least what Chris and Aster did. But you don't see any sign of lemon zest in this. Oh, you were outside with that armored woman. You knocked on my door. You were distracting me.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
We were wondering if there's a need for a love potion, but really deep down inside, we knew your heart. We knew you needed this. Oh, this is so romantic.
well, what
Tell
I
us
need
everything.
is for you all to make up what you made me lose. And she snaps her finger. Adela, I need you to make a con saving throw for Aster.
Damn. Oh my gosh. Hot diggity dog. I have to
Lemon
pull
says,
up
why are you
the
rolling
page.
con saves over there? Because that was an amazing con save, but
Right? Can I use it?
right? You're just like, just in case, I'm gonna roll this.
Oh, I was just testing out
Oh
that
my
I don't
gosh.
know.
Good old fiber.
Oh
the
my god.
the group of you, or rather Chris and Lemon Zest, you hear as Aster's, going on about the love potions and like telling her about the relationship, and her voice starts getting like more high pitched and kind of squeaky, and you notice her body kind of shrinking down and contorting, and it suddenly becomes obvious where those homunculuses came from. Not true homunculuses necessarily, but as Aster's form settles into what looks like a little ragdoll version of herself, and her voice fades away. She's just kind of moving and looks like maybe she's trying to talk. Like her little stubby hands go up to her throat. Nothing's coming out though. And Crulia just kind of snickers and looks.
Could I attempt to Thume? Would that?
It appears that your class abilities and species abilities are not currently working.
Okay. In my mind, I'm like, true love.
I feel like as this was happening, you might have heard that might have happened as you were being cursed. You fade away and there's this like true love, and it just kind of like fades out. All I can think of is Miracle Max from
Right. I'm not
Princess
a witch,
Bride.
I'm your wife. All right.
To Blave. What do the other two do?
Why would you do that?
You are now working for me. And she snaps her fingers. Unfortunately, you can't use the con save that you did have. I need you to roll an actual con save. Maybe you'll get it as good. You never know.
No.
Or it could be worse than Aster's roll.
Yep.
Chris, you watch as this kobold in front of you shrinks even more than he already was, and begins to like lose his voice, becoming what looks like, the most adorable little stuffed kobold toy you've ever seen, except for it's like moving and has a fairly annoyed look on its face.
Okay.
And she looks at you and she says, "You have things of mine."
I don't think that's true.
Make a deception check. I feel like, just roll a deception check. Not bad, not bad. Let's roll her an insight. Oh, she kind of eyes you for a moment. She says, "My magic didn't track you beyond this room. However, I did notice things had disappeared. But no matter, you'll get to work that off over the coming year. And she snaps her fingers at you. I need you to make a con saving throw.
Uh-oh.
We just counted down. 5, 4, 3. Perfect. The world begins to grow around you as your form shrinks down. Your mouth doesn't like seal shut, but you can't make noises any longer, and you kind of feel clunky as you kind of wobble on these strange, slightly misshapen legs that you find yourself with. And as she steps forward, you notice that the sigils around you kind of blink out as she steps into the circle, and she picks the three of you up. And she says, "We are going to make such good cinnamon rolls today." And she takes you over and she sets you down, and you can see all of these ingredients have been set out. Looks like she was prepping to do some cooking, or some baking, I should say. And as she does so, you feel this compulsion to bake. It's not that she tells you to do it, but seeing it, you're just like, oh, I totally want to make cinnamon rolls today. And the three of you begin to work together to prepare ingredients. I am going to find out how good a cinnamon rolls you make. I'm going to have all three of you make performance checks.
Okay.
I think no, I don't have.
Oh no. The dice today.
That's a 12.
Well, okay, so we got an 8, a 19, and a 12. Not terrible. When you're done with the baking, obviously she's involved, and you remember seeing, for those of you who are in, she was very active in the process as well, and so much like that, so when you were in here before, when you were sneaking in, you saw this, very much the same thing. She's moving around, doing things, but a lot of the prep is up to you. Every so often you do catch glimpses of other homunculus people that are just kind of watching from little nooks and crannies throughout the kitchen. Almost like maybe they're jealous or judging. It's hard to tell because their faces are fairly inert. You can see a little bit of emotion on them, but not much, as they kind of watch all of you. And when you finish up, Aurelia picks up a cinnamon roll and bites into it. There's a moment where she looks thoughtful about it, but then you have a lot to learn. The day continues on. You feel this compulsion to clean, to help. You don't feel bad about it, but there's this weird sense in your mind that this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. You're not really sure what's going on. And at night, she picks you up and she puts you in a little cubby, and you're like, this isn't right. But it's really kind of comfortable. It's kind of cozy in here. This is how time passes for a bit. You wake up, you bake, you clean. Sometimes you hear Corellia talking, and you'll kind of glance over and you'll see some of the other homunculus that are nearby. It appears that she talks to them. Make perception checks.
Perception.
I think that's Adela's first roll over 10.
Yes. You're gonna take the little wins.
Nice.
18.
Nice. 16, 18, and 22. Perfect. Over time, you start listening, and you're hearing these bits of conversation, and she kind of goes on about Nax and their relationship, how she's like going over to see him this weekend, or she's having him meet her in Neverwinter for something, like some kind of fancy dinner or something. Like, just this kind of ongoing information filters in, and you recognize it. Sometimes you feel little bits of warmth in your hearts about this happening, but you're like, well, that's just kind of our doing. Why are we being punished for this? But every day you wake up and you make cinnamon rolls or muffins, mostly baked goods. And then one day, Corellia comes in and she sits down and watches all of you baking. And she sighs and she snaps her fingers. And the three of you return to your normal forms. Some of you sitting or standing on the counter where you were. It's very awkward. She's like, my heart's just not in this. I really wanted to feel like I was getting even with you all, but I'll be honest, if it wasn't for you and your friend who didn't arrive with you, well, I just wouldn't be as happy as I am right now.
Oh.
Yeah, are we able to talk?
You are able to talk.
That's it right there. I'm so excited for you. That's wonderful. True love. I knew it.
I really wanted to be angry at you for longer.
I mean, I want to be angry at you too, but I mean, you probably actually did us a huge favor.
How's that?
I mean, you kept potentially Tiamat off our trail.
Lemon's right. Lemon's right. We've been going the wrong direction, and this helped us.
Well, I feel like there's a story, and if you would go ahead and finish. You know, I'll be honest. You've been really learning a lot. If you would want to finish up the muffins you're making, I'll make some tea, and we can talk about what situation you're in.
Oh, that sounds great. Yeah, I mean, I guess the short of it, and maybe Lemon, you can help out, but we've been told a lie all our lives, I think. Now there's this new history, and it's very confusing, but I feel like there's just this whole other world that we had no idea about. Yeah, I don't know. It's confusing.
You're talking about Zeminet, right? Nax told me that he sent you with his scroll. He was a little vague about it, but like he and I have had conversations.
Yeah, well, we didn't know how to read it, so that's the thing. And then we went on a quest to find somebody who would be able to read it. And once they read it, it's different than what we learned. So now it's just, like what history is the correct history. But I think we might know, because maybe Tyrannaxis isn't as cool as everybody thought.
You mean Tiamat? Because Tyrannaxis is damn cool.
Sorry. Tyrannaxis is damn cool. Tiamat is not as cool as we thought.
Well, it sounds like you're all in a kind of a pickle of some crisis of faith. Just leave.
Well, we have friends and family.
My inheritance.
Your inheritance?
Yeah.
How much have you stolen for the Hoard of the Dragon Queen that you've been building up that you could have just kept? What do you need an inheritance for?
Yeah, it's a family heirloom.
Well, what is it?
It's a special item. Well, a few items. There's a ceremonial dagger, and then there's also this brooch that does cool things. And then finally, the third part is a little needle that turns into a tattoo, a magical tattoo.
And you're willing to summon back a destructive goddess in order to get those things. I mean,
Well,
that is something. I'll give you that.
Look, my parents are dead. It's all I have to remember them by. That's why I stayed in here.
She gets a little misty-eyed. Look, just I feel like I owe you for the work that you've done. Just come with me. And she leaves the room. She heads down a short hallway. It's the first time you've left this room since getting here, and you're looking around. And Chris, you don't recognize this hallway. You had seen when you broke into the house previously, there was like the conglomeration of different little buildings that had attached themselves. This seems different. And as you walk, I guess I should ask, are you following along with Lemon Zest?
Yes.
Okay. And Aster, was that a yes as well? I feel like I said, okay, cool. So the three of you follow, and you start heading down this hallway that seems much less awkwardly built, like you had seen the other ones that were kind of twisting and turning to make these various buildings fit. This is much more coherent and kind of planned out. And you walk by windows and you see foliage you've never seen before, and like the sky's a little purple. You're not really sure what's going on with that. And then you're in a different area of the house. You realize her shack is no longer in the plains of purple dust. And she leads you down to a small room that, as she opens it up, Aster, you're just like flooded with all these scents, some that you recognize, some that you don't. And there's just jars and vials and little, my brain turned off. Containers full of herbs and substances just lining the walls. And in the center, you see a magic circle. And she says, I'll be honest, I never introduced myself, and I don't know any of your names. I'm Crulia. Who are you?
I'm Aster. Nice to meet you.
Aster, okay.
I'm Chris.
Lemon Zest.
Chris and Lemon Zest, okay. So Lemon Zest, if you could just step into the magic circle, that would be great.
Okay. And Lemon Zest steps in the circle.
She wanders around the room, collecting jars and vials, kind of placing some on this table where she begins to mix things. This acrid scent kind of wafts out. It reminds you a little bit of sulfur, but there's like hints of sweetness, and then like licorice and maybe a little bit of cinnamon roll. It's very weird. And she comes over and she's like, okay, just inhale deeply.
That was the sound of him inhaling.
Do you want to fail this Constitution saving throw?
Yes.
Like you feel something beginning to affect your body and mind, but essentially it's your choice on whether you want it to or not. So as you breathe in and you decide to allow it, your memory begins to flash. And for those of you watching this, you can see little flashes of this memory appearing around Lemon Zest. Lemon Zest hatching from an egg. Various scenes from Lemon Zest's childhood. Flashes of these objects that Lemon Zest had explained earlier, as well as like some other things. And this large chest. The chest is rather dull. It's almost intentionally not ornate, much unlike things that you have seen the cult have throughout your lives. And then it's like pushed away and hidden somewhere. And you see Crulia kind of lean in and look at it, and she eyes it. She reaches over, sticks her finger in a vial of something. You can smell sizzling. It almost smells like bacon until she pulls her finger out and you can see like her skin kind of bubbling. And she reaches out. You can see that some of this liquid drips from her fingertip onto the illusion. And she begins to like etch into what you see. And then she reaches forth, and with this sucking, popping noise, she pulls out this chest. And the illusions disappear, and Lemon Zest, you return to yourself. She plops it down. She's like, there. Let's just call it even.
What?
You wanted your inheritance. That's the only reason you were there.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Oh, well. Shoot. Okay. Thank you.
Do you want it? Of course. Yeah. I feel like I owed you.
He's already at the chest, like opening it up and crying a little bit as he.
Oh, his face
like
is leaking. I'm gonna go out here.
Yeah. I'm just gonna choose 3 random items. I don't know.
So as you open it, it's not full, but it has a lot more than you were expecting. And there are some like drawings of your parents like holding you as a child. There's actually like, you're not really sure what it is at first until you see there's like this like bundle of eggs, and you're like, oh well, that's me as a baby. And you start going through and you find the things that you had expected to find, but you also find a tome. It's not like a magic tome, but it has gears on it, little clockwork things that seem to lock it shut. What do?
I open the tome.
Make me a intelligence check.
Intelligence. That's an 8.
Okay. You're not really sure how. Looking at the gear work, it becomes obvious that there's an ornate process of opening it. So it'll take you a bit of time to do so. And as you kind of begin working away at it, what are the rest of you doing?
Oh, look at all these jars. Aster's going to try and like go and just kind of, she's looking at the jars and the things and trying to see if she can identify what's what, and maybe like opening and smelling if she can.
Yeah, doesn't seem like anyone stops you. Every so often you do kind of glance back, looking at the door to see if like she comes in and she's like, get away from my stuff. But you don't see her. You do notice a small homunculus that has been kind of wandering around, that seems to be one that she talks to a lot. Will like peer in every so often and like,
okay, with big waves. Always big waves, like, oh, look at that.
Make me either nature or an investigation check, whichever you'd like.
Let's see
16. Okay. With the 16, you begin to like, you're going through and like there's several ingredients here that you recognize, as well as several that you're just like, I have no idea what this is. And I feel like with the nature check, you can correlate at least, like you've heard of the Feywild, and it is likely that some of these plants, ingredients that you're finding probably grew from there. Here, apparently, if that is where you potentially are.
I'm going to take out like a little sticky notes, like a little kind of equivalent of a sticky note.
Sure.
And just on the ones that I don't know, I'm just going to kind of stick a sticky note on those ones And every time the homunculus comes over, be like, what's that? What's that? What's that? So that's what
just
I'll
kind
do.
of raises his hands and walks off.
Okay.
You know they can't speak, so having experience.
Okay.
Chris, what are you up to?
I guess I'll look around, see what there is in this new space.
So as you look around this room, it seems like this is definitely some kind of workshop that she uses for more arcane arts rather than baking and cooking. But you do glance out down the hallway, and you see at the end a large room similar to the one that you had pilfered previously, but maybe a little more lavish, as though this one is more permanent. It doesn't seem like this has as many rooms to it because it's not full of all of the things that she needed to make the meals for during the Iron Chef competition. Or top chef.
Is there anything worth stealing?
Head down and find out. Let's do a stealth check and then an investigation check.
Okay. Let's see. Stealth.
Nice.
Investigation.
So 22 for both. Fantastic. Let me just roll a thing here real quick. You kind of wait for that homunculus to disappear, the one that Aster had been talking about, and then you use that moment to sneak away. And when you get down in there, there are just like kind of almost a hoard of treasure strewn throughout this room. And as you're looking, you begin to recognize bits of it, things that you had taken and sent through the portal back to the Black Dragon Wing, things that you had sent from the Tower of the Talon, where you just were supposed to teleport to. She's been stealing your treasure, or at least since becoming aware of all of you, she has been pilfering with magic, at least bits of it, that's being teleported back to the Hoard of the Dragon Queen. You can just load up your pockets with gold and gems if you'd like.
Yes.
As you move through, you find there's like a little magical dagger here, and you kind of notice an amulet here. You're like, oh, that might be something, and you kind of pocket them. Meanwhile, it takes you a bit of time, probably a good part of the afternoon, Lemon Zest, to figure out this locking mechanism. But with a weird sense of satisfaction that you've only felt in a time that you're having a hard time remembering, because you gave it up in order to become a full-fledged warlock of Tiamat. This satisfaction of working with gears sets in as it clicks and opens, and it appears to be in your dad's handwriting. What do you do?
Read it.
As
I
you
devour it.
As you devour it with your eyes or your mouth?
Yes, with my eyes. With my eyes.
Osmosis.
Yeah. No. That's how kobolds read, actually, by eating.
Right.
Yeah.
As you begin to flip through, you realize that you and your dad actually had a lot in common when you were younger and when he was younger. This is a notebook of artificer nature. Notes on gearworks, how like mechanical objects work. Not necessarily a full-fledged artificer book, but kind of like theories about how such things could work. he definitely had a curiosity that was in line with your own before you gave up that stuff for Tiamat. And when you get to the final pages, the final pages themselves are blank, but the last one is actually a fairly intricate drawing of, kind of looks like a gargoyle, but has gears inside and makes it move around, kind of like a steel defender. What do you do?
I mean, yeah, I'm just reading this all in the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything I can do other than just keep reading.
Yeah. So as you read through, like, you realize it is well into the night. Lights have been lit that weren't there earlier. You're not even sure how long you've been there. Chris and Astor, you've long since finished what you were doing and ate a meal with Cruella. Is there any conversation that the two of you wanted to have? Kitty!
I think I want to know about the spice a little bit. It's so amazing. I made the mistake of testing it with my finger and it knocked me out. Like, what is it? How do you cook with it? It's the coolest thing ever. That's been just gnawing on my mind ever since being in that place. All the purple. It's just so neat.
As you bring it up, she definitely like gets a little defensive, and she's like, well, it's a trade secret, and I'm gonna have you do either just do a persuasion check. Oh no. She says that's really something that people who train with me for years would have to to gain that kind of trust. That's like a trade secret I just don't really want out there.
Could I spend some time with you and maybe train a little bit? I just want to be able to, I have this great recipe for lozenges, and I just want to kind of get these two together because I feel like that would be amazing. And I don't want to knock myself out again.
As you finish talking, you look up at her, and she's just kind of staring at you for a moment. And she wipes her eye. She's like, you mean on purpose? Like you'd want to be here on purpose?
Well, I mean, look at half of these ingredients. I don't know what they are. They're so fascinating. There's just so much to learn.
No, I mean, they really are. Some of these are really hard to find, especially on the material plane. I have to do a lot of plane hopping in order to get some of these.
That's just so amazing.
I mean, if you want to.
I mean, I would. I also think it would be really cool to take you back to this place that we just came from. They have so many plants, and I feel like you would enjoy it there too. And the plants grow like crazy out there. I just wonder what a garden, if you were to start a garden, if it would affect their growth as well. I don't know, but doesn't all that sound great?
I mean, this does definitely sound interesting. I've never had anyone want to stay here before. I mean, a lot of my workers, they do enjoy being here now, but once their time is up in their service, they tend to leave.
I mean, I feel like, I would want to be able to come and go because I have this friend named Willow, and I think you'd really like her too because she's really into the same stuff. Maybe we could travel all together. Wouldn't that be fun? But yeah, here's my recipe for the lozenges, but I just want to be able to kind of get...
Wait, you're giving me this?
Well, yeah, it's good. It's really good. I mean, we could make some up tonight, and it makes you feel great, but I feel like that next level would be some of this purple spice.
Oh,
I don't know.
I mean, I can
This could
see
be
why
another-
the spice didn't work with your lozenge before. You know, the mint that you're putting in it, you'd have to use like, there's a variety of mint that's in the Feywild. You'd have to use that, not like your mint from Faerun. Gonna have some weird combination. And she just starts like diving in and like picking apart your recipe and telling you why, even though she just said she wasn't gonna tell you anything about the spice, she's just like rambling on. Chris, what are you up to?
Is there more stuff to steal, or
I mean, it seems like that area that you were in is pretty much the house. You could leave the building. Looking out, it definitely, you feel like you are not, it is pretty obvious you are not in the area that you were before. If you would like to, you could do like a history or arcana check.
I think I'll just head back.
Okay. Yeah, trying to like figure out exactly where you are would be difficult, but you're unsure of like what awaits you outside. As you as you head back and dinner is made, it ends up being what do you think is Chris? What's Chris's dietary preferences?
Chris likes stew.
Stew. Excellent. So you mentioned that Ancrelia had started making something, begins to make this stew. She asks you whether you are vegan or have any like dietary things you can't have, any allergies, and puts together all of these various things and ends up being so she did. Let me ask you this: is Chris vegan?
No.
Okay. She starts like pulling some meat out of this like box, and then she's like, "Oh," and she looks at all of you. No, this isn't going to work. And she puts that back and pulls out what looks like some mushrooms and starts chopping those up and puts that in. And when you end up having it, it ends up being like the meatiest tasting stew you've ever had. But while you're eating, she explains, yeah, the basilisk meat from that I usually put in there is kind of actually poisonous to mortals like you, so probably not the best for you to eat. But it ends up being delicious. So I've noticed that you are rather fond of, well, let's just call it what it is. You enjoy taking things.
Yes, I do.
I have to express I didn't appreciate you taking my things, but Terranaxis knows this lady in Neverwinter that he could probably introduce you to if you decided you didn't want to head back to the cult. This lady has had previous dealings with the cult and she's made it quite obvious that she doesn't want to have anything to do with them and has placed defenses. Let's just say she has her own enterprise of taking things that aren't hers and making them her own. And I could Terranaxis would have to do it, but we could introduce you.
Okay.
Just a thought. And it's about this time that Lemon Zest comes walking out.
Hello.
Oh, did you find what you were looking for? You were really into that book.
I think I did. Anyway. Do you have any kitchen equipment I can kind of mess around with?
As you're kind of looking around, you do see like meat grinders and various like mixing equipment and stuff. Some of them are somewhat mechanical, but a lot of it's like just basic. I'm not really sure where you're going with this, but sure.
Cool. I just want to fiddle around.
Yeah, I mean, feel free.
Yeah, and he's going to start fiddling with mechanics as he... I don't know if this will work. I guess do his artificer memories like slowly come back to him, or
Right. Yeah. So as you're messing around, there's like these flashes of you like making things when you were a child, and these weird, almost like visions that overlay what you're doing, where you were in your mom's kitchen fiddling with kitchen equipment and stuff, and you start doing those same things, and it's almost like the memories are returning. There's somewhat of a block, like you kind of have to push through it. Do you want to attempt to overcome the block that Tiamat put in your mind?
yes.
I'm going to have you do a charisma saving throw.
Looking at the wrong character sheet, that's why. Okay, charisma saving throw.
Excuse me.
Yo, that's a 23.
Holy moly. I was not expecting that. As you sit down and you're, trying to work through this, and you're catching these glimpses, and you know this block exists. You know what you gave up in order to essentially please this goddess. And there's like this, you all know what this sounds like, but it doesn't happen all that often when it's not in combat. There's this like trilling, this kind of growing noise. It's not a growl, but it's this like weird, almost musical clicking noise that Lemon Zest makes just before he makes his your kobold bark that's like gives inspiration or gives advantage. It's like this weird angry noise, and all of a sudden like there's this pressure that releases in your head. It's a snap, and it almost feels like it should feel painful, but instead these memories just come flooding back into your head of the original my brain just turned off. What was your familiar's name?
Lemon Blossom.
Lemon Blossom, thank you. Like the original Lemon Blossom, you working on your treasure cart, like the treasure wagon that was automated, and you working with Bonvolio to build it, and like how kind of grudgingly proud he was of you because you were kind of already outshining him, even though he's been doing artificer stuff for much longer. And these memories just come flooding back. You would, if you choose, regain your levels in artificer.
Yeah, I'm working on my character sheet right now. Gaining those levels in artificer.
Nice. You just see Lemon Zest begin like pulling things apart, reassembling them. There's this like strange contraption that he builds. He ends up taking this vase and kind of like drilling the bottom of it out and putting it over the top of this. There's like these whisks that are like facing upright, and there's like a grinder on the bottom. You're not really sure. You just made like a mixer, like a powered mixer that can blend food, or like a blender. One that doesn't need an entrapped air elemental to power. Hooray!
Oops.
Yay!
So you work along into the night. The other two end up getting tired and kind of doing their trance or falling asleep. you're offered more like pallets, not quarters. It doesn't appear that Crulia has much room in this space. But when speaking with Aster, she is like, if you did decide to stay here, I could definitely summon, a room over here. If you wanted it on the side of the building, we could put it on this side of the building over here. And there's also, the whole it going back and forth between the material plane and the Feywild and blah, blah. And she's just kind of rambling on to herself.
I mean, Aster's super into it, and she's like, how about, I bet Willow and I could bunk. We've done that before, and it has worked out really well for us. Oh, I can't wait for you to meet her. We'll have to get her. Do you think you could get Willow?
I mean, if she goes through the teleportation circle, I can pretty much get anything at this point. Oh,
that's amazing.
I mean, she looks like there's a bit of chagrin there. She's just like, I was a little irritated at you all for this. This was something I'd been working on for the entire year, and I really thought I was gonna beat Nax, and then both of us lost, and I just felt kind of a little jilted by that. But as much as it pains me to say it, I feel like maybe things turned out for the best. But Nax and I did decide that this coming year we're going to team up, and we're going to do the Top Chef team competition instead of the solo competition.
That's going to be
Nice.
amazing. You're absolutely going to win.
Oh, I know it. I know we will.
That's so much better as a team,
I know he's going to want to keep the trophy in his
romantic.
damn trophy room, though.
That's okay. You can move in together.
Yeah.
I don't really think I'm
That's
ready
right.
for that level of commitment, but
No, that's fine. Wait, like 30 years?
yeah, I mean that seems like a good timeline to kind of make sure everything works out.
Yeah.
So as the days from here progress, you've all been offered options, but what do you think each of you does? Let's start with Chris. Chris, what do you think from here Chris would do?
I think I would go with that.
So you're going to go to Neverwinter?
Mm-hmm.
So about a week after you get here, there is a chance for you all to essentially have your goodbyes and say the things that you want to each other before Chris leaves. And then Crulia takes Chris back to that circle that you appeared in to begin with. And she looks at you and she's explained already that she's going to send you to see Tyrannaxis, and that he will take you to meet this thief lord. As she begins to finalize the ritual that will teleport her, or will teleport you, she does eye you, and then she kind of glares and she holds out her hand, knowing that you've taken something of hers. She doesn't know what it is. What do you do?
What was that?
I said, before she teleports you, she's finalizing the ritual, and then all of a sudden she stops and she looks at you, and this knowing look crosses her face, and she holds out her hand to you, she knows you've taken something. What do you do?
I'll give it back. I'll give the dagger and the amulet back, but not the gold or the jewels.
She takes the dagger and the amulet, and she pockets the amulet. She has this long skirt on. She slides it into a deep pocket. She hands you back the dagger. You keep that.
Okay.
You keep that. I don't have as much use for that.
Okay.
And then she says the final word, and Chris disappears. Chris, you reappear in Tyrannaxis' lair. Nax is standing there. He's wearing clothes this time. He actually is wearing kind of a fairly formal outfit. Seems not quite like of nobility or royalty, but definitely very formal and nice. Some like black silks. This ascot that's like this deep brown color. And he smiles at you and he says, well, I wasn't expecting to see any of you again, but as much as it pained me to lose the competition, I do have to thank you for what you did. I just want to make sure before I take you to see this person that you... I feel like there's not really a good way to put this. It's not a good way to know what you're getting into, but I want you to be prepared for what you're getting into.
And what would that be?
It's just, working for a thief lord is going to be a lot of work, a lot of stealing things.
That sounds perfect.
Okay then. If you're ready, I'm ready.
Okay.
He steps into the circle with you. He takes out a little scrap of paper, kind of squints at it. I'm sorry, I'm really terrible at these. Do you know how to pronounce this word? And as the two of you decipher this scroll from Cruelia, she gave him in order to operate the teleportation circle. The two of you disappear and reappear below Neverwinter. You can smell the city above you. It is flowing into the areas around you, literally, as sewer lines run by you. But the tunnel that you're in, though it does have a trickle of water running down it, leads to an ornate... It almost looks like what would like go over a sewer line or something like that, but there's this metal doorway, and you can see the arcane inscriptions just like scrawled all over it. He walks up, knocks on it. An eye slit opens, and you can see this halfling on the other side peers out. Oh, Nax, you're here already. We weren't expecting you quite yet. That's all right. I think she's ready for you. And he gets down. You can hear, as he gets down, there are some mumblings that he does. You don't quite make out the words, and some of the runes flare, and the door rolls out of your way. And beyond is like the most lavish series of chambers you've ever been in. This rivals any palace you've read about. And granted, you know, you've been part of the Hoard for the cult of the dragon for most of your life, so you haven't really had a chance to visit a lot of palatial style buildings, but in your imagination, this is like the most lavish place you've ever seen. Silks hang from the ceilings, there's like magical doodads everywhere, and he leads you through this compound of sorts far below the surface of Neverwinter, and in what can only be described as the throne room, you see oddly signs of draconic presence. Like here and there you'll notice some motifs that you've definitely seen before as far as the cult goes, and some of them that you recall seeing in that abandoned chamber below the surface of the Plains of Purple Dust. And on a throne sits this rather plain looking human woman. Her dark hair is almost like it's that kind of black that looks like it's almost purple or blue, depending on how the light hits it. And she's just like spinning a dagger on her finger as she glances up at you. Ah, you're the new recruit. Excellent.
That I am. It's a pleasure to meet you.
And as you are introduced, we're going to go back to Aster. Actually, so both Aster and Lemon Zest, you see Chris disappear.
I feel like Aster's not shocked because we've already talked about this, but it's still exciting to see. Like, oh, hi. Goodbye.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
In the time that you've been here, Lemon Zest, Corellia has had some conversations with you as you brought up essentially where you've been, what's happened, and her learning of your subdued warlock pact. She doesn't seem worried about things here, and you've definitely learned that you are not on Faerun any longer. You're not on the prime material plane at all any longer. You are deep within the Feywild, and she just doesn't seem worried about Tiamat peering in on you as her warlock. But she does ask you whether you'd like to subvert that bond that you created and maybe direct it elsewhere. And she gets a glint in her eye.
I would like to just focus on me.
That is fair. Would you like to wear that? And she points at the... Was it a bracelet? No, I've completely forgotten. The thing that is protecting you from being seen by Tiamat.
Yeah, the oh my gosh, the amulet of proof against detection.
Yeah, and they like beefed it up at the at Sentinel Spire so that it protected you from Tiamat's vision. Do you want to wear that for the rest of your life, or do you want to nullify your agreement?
I would like to nullify that agreement. Although I feel like with that warlockiness gone, it doesn't really matter. Tiamat's not really going to care that much about me.
That is fair. I leave it completely up to you.
Yeah, I'm just going to unattune to this. I don't know. I guess I'll keep it as a just in case.
Okay.
But,
Sorry, knocking things over on my desk.
Otherwise, I feel fine.
You're still standing after all this time?
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, thanks for the pepper treat. I will add that to her growing pile. Hey, Jason, thanks for joining us, by the way. So as the two of you spend some more time here in the Feywild, what is Aster up to?
I feel like there's a couple of things that need to happen. Like, we need to get Willow over here, and we need to let Vestra know what the new information is, because at this point Vestra doesn't even know, and she of all people loves dragons. So the truth should be out there. So what could we send, like, a message to Vestra through you where we don't have to actually like go there, but she knows it's from us?
She says, actually, hang on. And she goes back into her room and she begins digging through piles of things, and she's like, that little thief. And begin. And then she's like, oh, okay. At least they didn't get it. And she pulls out what looks like this. It looks like one of those like music boxes that like you open up and like the people dance around. But when she opens it up, it doesn't make any noise. And she's like, just think about who you want to send your message to and then speak directly into the box.
Okay.
It is kind of limited. Keep it to under like 25 words if you can.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to think about Vestra. Vestra. You are right about the interpretation. There's a really cool place that you sent us to. You should go there for more answers that align with you a little bit better. We're maybe in the Feywilds. Love Astor.
Maybe in the as you speak, there's like two of the figures. One of them spins and then stops as you finish speaking. And then after a moment, the other one starts spinning, and in your head, you hear, Astor? Oh, good to hear from you. I was worried that things didn't work out. I will definitely make a note of that. Things here have been, But, doing the best. Is there a way to contact you again? Stop.
Astor looks at our new friend and like with a question in her eye and is like, is that possible?
Is what possible?
Can she contact us?
Oh. So it only works once a day. Sorry, I should have told you that.
Okay. So I can't respond to her until tomorrow?
No. Yeah, I'm going to have to put a sticky note on that.
Okay. Okay, we'll have to contact her tomorrow then. And then I really would like to get Willow here. Can we send her a message? Or can I go get her? She's probably not anywhere near where like people are anyway.
So she was at the Tower of the Talon. And to teleport there, you would have to teleport to the circle, which is definitely people can see you. But essentially over the coming days, messaging, using the box to message, you're able to coordinate with Willow and Vestra, essentially to get them to head out and head to the head to Sentinel Spire. You get the feeling through the messaging, because it is so limited, that much like the drain that it was on your parents, being in the Tower of the Talon finally did start affecting Vestra and Willow, being around so much undeath and all of that. There's only so much life they could bring to the tower for so long, so they are fairly glad to move on from their attempts at like making friends with the other faction of the Cult of the Dragon. Both of them really into dragons 100%, but never really like were pro Tiamat. So it's pretty easy to convince them to at least go hear out Cheova and the other dragons at the cloister.
Okay. I think, well, this is fantastic. I know that I want to stay for a little bit before I visit them and talk to Cheova myself, but can we hang out and bake together for a while?
Yeah, anytime that you ask if Corellia wants to bake, she is 100% down.
Nice.
You definitely get the feeling spending time with her. Baking is like her life. She enjoys cooking, and she's a very good cook, but baking is where it's at.
This is a good spot.
Whereas Nax was the other way around. Nax was like the best chef you've ever cooker that you've ever met, but his baking, and so you just get the feeling that come time for the team competition in Neverwinter for Top Chef, they're just going to annihilate their competition. Hopefully with their food and not like their powers, but
Aster's just loving it. She's soaking it in. She's like, oh, my friends are good. Everybody's doing okay. We're cooking. What a great time. This is all we need.
nice. In time, you were able to work with, like, via communication, you start setting up ways to communicate more often with Vestra and with Willow, rather than relying on this like one box to do the entire thing. And they have devised a way for a teleportation circle to be built at Sentinel Spire that won't necessarily allow people to invade, like they're concerned about the power or the forces of Tiamat that have been hunting them for their entire lives, keeping them away. And so you spend time doing that, and sooner or later you're able to return to Sentinel Spire, and you see Vestra and you see Willow, and you bring Corellia to Sentinel Spire, and she meets with Cheova, which was great, but she meets Gefra, the pink-haired halfling, and the two of them just like you and Corellia have gotten along very much with baking and cooking and talking about nature and stuff, but like the pink-haired halfling and Corellia are just like, they bond in ways that you have with her over food, but over the rampant growth. Yes, I said it, the rampant growth drink that is still plaguing. You see Ashrin there. Ashrin has devised that there is the curse that apparently was left behind by the Archdruid who was slain here, and they are trying to figure out how to take care of that. But that would be a completely other story. As the three of you recommit your bonds and you're able to bounce between planes at this point, they don't stay there at Sentinel Spire. They travel with you to go off to various planes and find new plants and new spices and new ways to bake and cook. That leaves Lemon Zest.
Yes.
What does Lemon Zest do?
Lemon Zest is going to wander around the Feywild.
Nice. What do you think Lemon Zest's goal wandering around the Lemon Zest, the Feywild is? Is it just to explore, or is it to find something specific?
I think part of it, he just wants to learn more mechanical things, and the Feywild's unique.
That it is.
So I think he would flourish there now that he's got all the knowledge of like his Faerunian building stuff. He now wants to work on Feywildlian.
Nice. And I feel like there is a good likelihood that as you keep in some contact with the others and you hear about their plane jumping excursions, like more knowledge of the planes comes to you, and you hear about this place called Mechanus that just seems right up your alley, and maybe one day you'll head that direction after you finish exploring the Feywild and what it offers you. How does everybody feel? Is there anything else you feel like your characters would do or that you want to express?
Oh man, I feel like because we sort of know that Tiamat is not the greatest, Aster would want to stop the work of trying to bring Tiamat back. So she would definitely want to keep her ears open and talk to everybody at some point. Like, hey, maybe we should stop this because, like our this cool town is still living in fear, and Tiamat seems to be still doing like crappy stuff to people.
I
But
feel
I
like
feel like
maybe it's months later. The
mhm,
three of you arrive in a tavern somewhere on the prime material plane. As you each apparate and sit down, you begin just like talking about your experiences. And not only did you come back here to meet up with one another and learn what each other's been up to, but you've been waiting on Ashrin, who hasn't shown up yet. And when she does, she walks in the door and she's just like, her armor's beat to hell. It's no longer painted the same way, but she's still wearing a lot of the same pieces. She has this like flail on her side that has 6 heads, like 6 flail heads coming off, each that end in like a draconic eye that, you know, Cheova had given her at some point. And she sits down with a heavy sigh. You all look at her expectantly and she's like, no, drink first. And she orders a drink. She pours herself one. She takes a long draw at it. And she says, well, we didn't subvert the ritual, so there's still work to be done for the cloister. But thanks to those within the cult who turned, and some random adventurers who just showed up at the last minute, we did stop the ritual, and Tiamat has been sent back to Avernus. She just kind of like blanks for a moment, like she can't quite still believe what she's saying. Like there's still always been that like question of faith that's kind of haunted her throughout this time. But she kind of takes another drink and she sets it down and she looks almost as content as you've ever seen Ashrin, at least for the moment. And she looks at all of you and she says, so have you all been doing anything? And that's where we'll wrap up.
Well,
Yes.
Aster hands out new lozenges to everybody, which have like have some of that purple
Right.
dust incorporated in it. Just like, oh yeah.
And having seen, you still haven't seen like you haven't seen anything that the Aster has made with the purple dust not knock you on your butt. You're very like ginger with it. You're taste it before you eat it. Any
That's amazing.
thoughts? Anything anyone wants to share?
I love it. I miss the people that we're missing, and hopefully we can get back together again
Yeah.
to adventure again.
Much love to Shadow and to Janelle for being part of this story. I wish them the best. I hope everything is going well for them. Wishing you all the best. I want to thank you for joining me in this this game, this story that we've told together. I do feel bad that we had to end it without finishing it, but such is the scheduling life of really any RPG group, let alone one that meets in the middle of a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me. Why don't we do some outros? Tell us who you are, who you've played. If you have any last thoughts about your character or adjectives that they are feeling currently, let us know. Let's go the other way around. So this time we're going to start with Mika.
Hi, I'm Mika, and I played Lemon Zest. And I think Lemon Zest is now part of a Wild Beyond the Witchlight adventure somewhere.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm curious which side of that adventure though? Are you an adventurer in that adventure, or are you on the other side of that?
Oh, I think he's an adventurer in the. No, I think he's an NPC
Fair.
who joins the party
Nice.
like halfway through. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Excellent. Do you have anything coming up that you want to tell the lovely audience about?
Tonight, over on Records of the Realms, is part 4 of Manners and Mischief, a Good Society AP.
Nice.
So you can catch me there.
Excellent.
Tomorrow you can catch me on Help Action Needed playing Gazebo's Bed and Breakfast.
Gonna be so fun.
And on Friday you can see me playing a Warforged Barbarian named Lemon Sour over on Entropy Emporium.
That's awesome. Exciting. Very looking forward to seeing all those things. Sorry, my brain just turned off again. It does that. It's rebooting. While it's rebooting, Aster, Adela, tell us about yourself, about Aster. Any last thoughts?
Yeah. All right. Played Aster. Aster is probably going to be writing a book soon. I think some kind of foraging book with medicinal recipes and cool things and antidotes that she's found. As for myself,
didn't I see Aster's name in Heroes Feast, the official D&D cookbook?
Maybe. Gosh, and as far as me, I have so many grand ideas, but I blame everything lack of motivation and time on, we'll say, motherhood. So we'll see how that changes, though I have a handful of people that are pushing me to accomplish all the things that are swirling around in my head.
Nice.
So you may very well see some recipes. You may very well see a little mini podcast about recipes and D&D. But as far as things that are up now, it's still bellabeekids.com, and that will slowly get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger as I've got time to continue on with it. And the socials that you guys have been sharing, Mountain Minx, that may lean a little scary political. Please come and follow if you are like-minded. And also, please don't stroll if you're not. Just let me go. Just let it go.
It's weird. If you don't agree with someone, you can shut the fuck up. It's weird.
There's that.
It's really easy, too. You just don't say anything.
So, and some other things on Mountain Minx. But please follow if you're still interested, and hopefully I'll be with these lovely people again.
Nice.
And playing here, which would be great. That's it.
Yes, as Raven in the chat says, you can just mute and block. Save your peace. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Last but not least, Chris. Mick, tell us about yourself and Chris and what you have going on.
I'm Mick, and I was playing the Drow Rogue. Chris is probably just gonna keep stealing stuff. That's it. Stealing stuff from, I guess, high-profiled people.
Nice.
Rising up in the ranks in the Thieves Guild there.
So I do have to say, all of this came about because I've been, so for those of you who are new to the channel or haven't been following for a while, I do game design and I've published on DM's Guild for a while, mostly Adventures League stuff. But I'm always writing something, and for a while this idea of this playing the other side of the Tyranny of Dragons story and being the cultists and like living life through this idea that they're not the bad guys, that they're just doing what they think is right, but it also was built out with all of these other directions that you all decided to go, as far as like checking out Zeminet and these other dragons who weren't created by Tiamat and who did create them and stuff like that. But I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but that lady, that thief lord, she's a dragon. They're all dragons.
Oh.
Everyone's a freaking dragon. And I kind of want, if you're all right with it, I kind of want to put Chris in as an NPC in her affiliation or her organization, so that if I do ever publish this, they end up running into Chris as like someone who just follows them around and steals their shit.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, like Jason says in chat, all the players are dragons in disguise. Not the characters, they're players. You're all dragons in disguise. Awesome. Well, I'm Jeremy. I've been the fellow running this. I do like to say story guide instead of dungeon master, because I feel like I'm just kind of like offering up the options for you all to go. I master nothing. I'm master of nothing here. You can find me here on this channel and on socials at WH Pubs. Tonight over on Dirty Vortex, I still want to ask them where their name came from. I am doing tech for Chaz, who's been on this channel before. If you watched on Wednesdays previously, Chaz has run Girl by Moonlight here on the channel for it. He is running Dead on Spawn by Dirty Vortex, which is essentially a Dead Souls type of game where it's so hard that you're going to die over and over, but you respawn and you come back and you just keep trying to fight through to the end. They're on episode 3 tonight. They have yet to have a character death that wasn't by the character's choice to remove a condition. That's the fastest way to reset yourself, right? Have another player character kill you so you just respawn back there. But I think Chaz is going to ramp it up tonight, and it's going to be a gigantic... Jason says Zerg. Exactly. It's going to be a gigantic Zerg mess. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that. And then on Friday, we have Daggerheart at 8 p.m. Eastern, our ongoing story, which was supposed to be a 6-part series, and we turned it into an ongoing series. So I'm excited to see more of that. And on Saturday, we have part 3 of our Historia 3-parter. So this will be the finale. Historia is a D&D setting. It's Dark Renaissance, but you all play as anthropomorphic animals, animal people. So we have like a red panda person and a squirrel person and a crow person. It's awesome. Really excited to see how that all turns out. And then that's it for this week. We're going to raid out. So once again, thank you all for watching. If you haven't watched the entire series and you are interested in catching it, head over and follow our YouTube. This whole series is up on there, as well as everything else that we've done in the last 6 years or so. So there's plenty of videos to keep you entertained for a while. Also, go follow these people's awesome channels and socials and keep an eye out on all of the fun things that they have coming up. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.